my friends, CA here, and on Mondays I'd like to share things to try, things that don't fit in any of our other playlists. And this week I thought, with Halloween almost upon us, I wanted to try to take on the persona of death. To do that, I have this skeleton mask. I actually picked this up in Disney World of all places at Epcot. One of my favorite shops to visit in the World Marketplace has to be Japan. This was too cool to pass up. I have to take my glasses off, so hopefully I can do this without actually seeing. Cheekbones. And to make the transformation complete, now I feel.
It is I, Death. In the spirit of Halloween, I want to share with you a story. A story of the three brothers. But of course I need my glasses. I'm not as young as I used to be. There were three brothers who were traveling along a lonely, winding road at twilight. In time, the brothers reached a river too deep to walk through and too dangerous to swim across. However, these brothers were learned in the magical arts, and so they simply waved their wands and made a bridge appear across the treacherous waters. They were halfway across when they found their path blocked by a hooded figure, and Death spoke to them. He was angry that he'd been cheated out of 3 new victims, for travelers usually drowned in the river. But Death was cunning. He pretended to congratulate the 3 brothers upon their magic and said that each had earned a prize for having been clever enough to evade him. So the oldest brother, who was a combative man, asked for a wand more powerful than any in existence. A wand that must always win duels for its owner. A wand worthy of a wizard who had conquered death. So Death crossed to an elder tree on the banks of the river, fashioned a wand from a branch that hung there, and gave it to the eldest brother. The second brother, who was an arrogant man, decided that he wanted to humiliate Death still further, and asked for the power to recall others from Death. So Death picked up a stone from the riverbank and gave it to the second brother, and told him that the stone would have the power to bring back the dead. And then Death asked the third and youngest brother what he would like. The youngest brother was the humblest and also the wisest of the brothers, and he did not trust Death. So he asked for something that would enable him to go forth from that place without being followed by Death. And Death, most unwillingly, handed over his own cloak of invisibility. Then Death stood aside and allowed the 3 brothers to continue on their way. And they did, talking with wonder of the adventure they had had and admiring Death's gifts. In due course, the brothers separated, each to his own destination. The first brother traveled on for a week or more, and reaching a distant village, he sought out a fellow wizard with whom he had a quarrel. Naturally, the Elder Wand was his weapon, and he could not fail to win the duel that followed. Leaving his enemy dead upon the floor, the older brother proceeded to an inn, where he boasted loudly of the powerful wand he had snatched from Death himself, and of how it made him invincible. That very night, another wizard crept upon the oldest brother as he lay, wine-sodden, upon his bed. The thief took the wand and for good measure slit the oldest brother's throat. And Death took the first brother for his own. Meanwhile, the second brother journeyed to his own home, where he lived alone. Here he took out the stone that had the power to recall the dead, and turned it thrice in his hand. To his delight, the figure of the girl he had once hoped to marry before her untimely death appeared at once before him. Yet she was silent and cold, separated from him as though by a veil. Though she had returned to the moral world, she did not really belong there and suffered. Finally, the second brother, driven mad with hopeless longing, killed himself so as truly to join her. And Death took the second brother for his own. But though Death searched for the third brother for many years, he was never able to find him. It was only when he had attained a great age that the youngest brother finally took off the cloak of invisibility and gave it to his son. And then he greeted Death as an old friend and went with him gladly, and equals they departed this life. You can find us here on Monday sharing things to try, things that don't fit in other playlists, such as Death. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the bell icon to be notified of my of more video content. Until next time, one to beam out.